morning everybody. I am Dr. Mukesh Pareek. I have been successfully and satisfactorily running Cosmos Institute for English Literature and Language. Today I want to have a word with all of you regarding how to clear English NET examination and JRF. Students have panicked regarding this exam. My experience tells me that this examination is not tough. I myself has cleared this exam many times, and state level exam also. And I found that a regime, a continuous practice, and a system of reading some good books can make you clear this exam very easily. I have made a list. First of all, any student who wants to clear this exam in the very first attempt has to first of all buy at least 5 to 6 good books of history of English literature. That can be a question like what kind of books he should buy. I have also seen in the career of my teaching that students don't read history of English literature and they directly appear in the exam. Compton Rickett, William J. Long are the first two choices, and then short history of English literature by Oxford, blah blah. These kind of books can be easily read, can be easily understood, and then a student should switch over to David Deitch's Critical History of English Literature. Once he has completed this wholeheartedly by preparing certain notes in the diary, age after age, the student should go to solve some previous year's exams papers. For example, in my institute, we have a practice of solving last year's exams or previous exams papers almost weekly, so that within 10 days or say 15 days of the coaching, my students start remembering like certain questions came in particular year, or what is the seriousness of the lecture, and then the student can also understand the importance of particular works in the particular book, and he or she can become more and more serious. Next, in your locality, suppose you have a good institute for preparation of English. I have all my doubts that we don't have very good institutes around us, but still suppose he or she finds, then she should or he should join that institute for the sake of regularity. Criticism and theory is a very integral part of NET examination, and even I don't consider a student is ready for exam without preparing for theory and criticism part. So start reading M.H. Abrams' book for theory and criticism. There are 2 versions available in the market. One should go for the bigger one, the latest edition. Last but not the least, if suitable, available, the student should go on the internet and collect almost 4 or 5 universities, national level universities, syllabi for BA pass course, BA honors and MA, and if it is possible for MPhil also, and just see the level of seriousness which has been put in making the syllabi and preparing the notes on the curricula. The student can prepare himself and can make himself or herself abreast with the knowledge, latest knowledge. Thank you very much. Good evening everybody. Here I am, Dr. Mukesh Pareek. Today I wish to explain a poem, a very famous poem in the whole English literature, written by Andrew Marvell to his coy mistress. The poem has a unique place because on one side it represents the whole social stratum of the age where when the poem was written, and on the other hand it also shows to us the passionate lover. But the structural part of the poem is again very surprising. The poem has a structure of syllogism, where a poet, an intellectual poet, who is a lover also, or he can also be called an interlocutor, who is speaking. The poem falls in the category of carpe diem, the world famous theme in which a lover is suggesting to his beloved to make the most of her time. Let me read some part of the poem for you. Had we but world enough and time, this coyness lady were no crime. Now look at the word coy. During my teaching, whenever I ask the meaning to my students, ask the meaning to my students, like what can be the possible meaning of the word coy? And most of the students said simply shy. But dictionary suggests to us that coy has a very negative meaning. It means a girl who wants her lover to talk about sex, but still she pretends that she doesn't like that. So the lover, knowing the status of the heart of the beloved, says that had we but world enough and time. Now the very first line talks about space and time dichotomy. This coyness lady were no crime. The term lady itself tells, the poem falls in the category of Elizabethan lyric, but as the time suggests, this poet falls in the category of cavalier poets. So almost following the tradition of Elizabethan courtly lyrics, where a cavalier, which is in itself a negative term, a person, a follower of Charles I, is not only showing his gallantry, but also very much has engrossed himself in sexual pursuits. I read ahead. We would sit down and think which way to walk and pass our long love's day. Thou, by the Indian Ganges side, shouldst rubies find. I, by the tide of Humber, would complain. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. Look at the musical aspect of the poem, but look also, one should pay attention to the space the poet has covered. On one hand, he's talking about Indian Ganges, and on the other hand, he's talking about Humber. It means he's taunting his beloved, that why is she wasting all her time? Because they don't have that much space and time, and it is seminal for both of them to enjoy their life. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse to the conversion of the Jews. Anti-Semitic ideas are present in the poem. We all know, being students of English literature, that right from Chaucer, the condition of Jews, Jews were not present in England, but still Christians, after reading so many historical accounts, had always negative sentiments about the Jews. So here the poet says that, which is something very impossible, that all the Christians turned Jews. It means up to eternity, up to the time which is totally impossible to cover. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires and more slow. Now there is a paradox present in the poem. On one hand, he says that the love will be like vegetable, and on the other hand, he says that it will be like a very slow love, which is totally impossible, because the urgency present in the first line of the poem, where he says that had we but world enough. It means the poem starts with a conditional sentence, third conditional with had. It means the situation has altogether passed and they are left with no choice. And that's why he says, "An 100 years should go to praise thine eyes, and on thy forehead gaze, 200 to adore each breast, but 30,000 to the rest." Look at the most interesting part of extemporally, the poet has been coaxing his beloved by using more and more hyperboles and exaggerations. By leaving arguments of coaxing, he altogether starts by saying his beloved that they should start making love.